there bike fans, and welcome to Downhill Smooth Tarmac's review of the year 2023. And we start with my first video. Long weekend in Bath, me and Chops decided to go and ride the Two Tunnels Greenway, and I saw an opportunity for my first ever video vlog. And less than 200 of you watched it, but it did get some likes. And it was really fun, gave me the bug to get this channel up and running. Next up, I decided to use my workshop skills and do my first technical video, and I didn't do things by halves. I stripped down my Turbo Vado SL, converting it from a flat bar bike to gravel drops and Shimano 10-speed 105. What a journey that was. And well, just look, freezing cold workshop, total mess, but a video that thousands of you have viewed and enjoyed. I didn't stop there though. I decided to share my love for single speed riding using this Ridgeback that I threw together into some kind of gravel bike. I decided to narrate this after a night shift, and I deliriously extolled the virtues of single speed riding in an effort to try and convince you all to join me in a single gear crusade. And a few thousand of you watched it, and some people even liked it. I loved filming it, and I still love the value and virtue of a single speed bike, particularly in the gravel realm. With the cost of living going up and my love of budget cycling, my next video, I decided to see if I could build a usable gravel bike for under £300 based on this Diamondback that I bought for 20 quid based solely on the paint job. And I did manage it, spoiler alert if you haven't watched the video. But it turned out to be a bit of a turning point for the channel. Seems that you guys love a good budget build. You obviously like to keep your eyes on the purse strings just as much as I do when it comes to cycling. And this bike has become a bit of a standard for the channel. And as you'll see later on, I'm far from done with the humble Diamondback. Keep the variety flowing, my next video was all about club cycling and why I ride with a club. I actually took a vintage Holdsworth along for this as well, but that was by the by. This was the first video that really got a lot of comments, and I was really surprised at some of the negativity towards club cycling. It wasn't something I was familiar with. The club I ride with, Velomora, is so inclusive. I can't ever say that some of the comments really rang true. But it was interesting to see how many of you are solo riders that may well now give this a go. After that club ride, it was time to finally test out that sub £300 gravel bike. It was also the first time I'd ever tried out the Insta360 X3 camera as well. I chose a slightly windy day by a lake to use the 3-metre pole above my head to get some aerial-like footage. Yeah, that was a fresh challenge on a bike that was unfamiliar. That aside, the Diamondback really surprised me on this ride because it is heavy, but it was really comfortable, really super duper comfortable and not all that slow. In the throes of muddy, wintry weather, March brought another single-speed ride on the trusty Ridgeback. This was a route of my choosing, and I took the guys and Chops on one of my local trail loops around basically the village of Ticknall on the outskirts of the city of Derby. The plan for this ride was to end up at the cafe at Staunton Harold for bacon cobs and coffee. We set off late, which meant the pub down the road, the milking parlour, was open, so why not have a pub stop? So we did. We had beers, ciders and pizza before getting back on the trail. For me, I wanted to show in this video what our rides are all about. It's not all about cadence, heart rate, training, all that sort of thing. Sometimes it's about social fun. And we had a great workout. Well, I know I did. In fact, in this video, according to Dave, I like to make my life difficult by choosing not to have any gears. Next up was another club ride video. This one, I took a super rare Rally RSP titanium bike on the club ride, following a little guide to how to check your bike over. What I didn't tell you at the start of the video is Dave owns one of these as well, and he brought his. I can guarantee you there ain't many times you're going to see two of them on the same ride, and we managed it. And despite them being a bit of a 90s thing, with some weird idiosyncrasies like 1-inch threadless headsets, these bikes are rapid and super fun for a road thrash, and they keep up with the modern stuff just fine, especially with some cheeky subcompact gear. In April, I decided to add a little homemade voltage to the channel using my old Bafang mid-drive e-bike that's basically stuck to my old Specialized camber. Never taken an e-bike around a trail centre, and you see them more and more, so I wanted to see kind of what it was like. But despite a good start, it didn't go entirely to plan. First of all, it was a wet and rainy day. Second of all, I've not used this bike with the e-bike setup for anything more than real commuting, that kind of thing, and the shock blew up. I mean, as you can see in the footage here, I thought Scott ahead of me was having a blowout with a bit of a tubeless situation. I was so wrong. I only realised when we hit the next section of trail, and suddenly the back end was clattering around like mad. And as you'll see in the footage in a minute, there was nothing left of that shock. So that's been changed off that bike and onto something else now, so I can go and have another go with a steel hardtail. May, a couple of videos. This one was right inside my comfort zone, restoring a 90s road bike. Basically, I was contacted by an old customer who wanted to get rid of this. We didn't know what it was, but I liked it, so decided to restore it. Still don't know what it is, but it is an incredible bike. I spoke a little bit in this video about subcompact gearing, which I've been put onto from Dave. He's a massive fan of it, and actually I'm getting more and more converted to this kind of thing. And the idea behind it is really simple. Instead of running compact 50-34, standard 53-39, that kind of thing, dropping down to the likes of a 48 and a 28, or a 48 and a 32, 46, gives you a chance for more cadence. And if you're in a situation with a bike like this where you can't get a wide range cassette for the rear like a modern bike would have, this is 8-speed compact Mirage. We can go no bigger than a 28 tooth at the back. This gives you an option to have gearing that's going to feel a little more familiar to a modern bike. And I'm not the first person to sing the virtues of this. Party Pace, they love it on that channel. And Dave's the one who put me onto this, if I'm being honest, and it's converted me. Speaking of Dave, next up we took to a different location. We went into Pickering's Bikes in Measham, into Dave and Jack's shop, to do a real insight video into what goes into your bike service at a professional shop. This proved a popular little video with viewers. I think you were all keen to know just the level of detail that a bike mechanic goes into when they're checking your bike over. And I'm really grateful to Dave and Jack for giving their time and space in the shop for us to shoot this. And it wasn't the first and won't be the last time we visit the shop. Next up though, the bikepacking 4-dayer. I did this in 4 parts. We travelled around our local area over towards Nottingham and then into the Peak District. and I took you along 4 days of gravel. It was Chops' first 4 days. We had a mixed bag and an amazing time. Just proving that you can have an adventure from your doorstep. You haven't got to go off to far-flung locations to find great trails and places to stay. Oh yeah, and this is where we came up with the name Chops is Tops. One of our viewers, Andy, came up with the tagline after she beasted us all on a hill in the Peak District. Oh, and here's a man playing music on a mobility scooter, not letting anybody past. That was a legendary moment as well. That's why I've left it in. What a trip that was. Great to have a whole group of us out there hitting new trails and having a good laugh. June brought some nicer weather. I got stuck into the workshop on the return of the mighty Diamondback. Originally planning just to upgrade to some XT and some other little juicy bits. Riding with Dave, we had an epiphanous moment. Would 650B work? And he just so happened to have a set of wheels on offer for me to try. And, another spoiler alert, it certainly did. And boy, did this video get your attention. This video is the most popular video on the channel to date. 14,000 views on the last count. So clearly a lot of you are curious about doing this to your own retro bikes. I think to give yourselves more tyre options, and because, as it proved in the ride video that came up shortly afterwards, it works really, really well, particularly if you're converting an old mountain bike to a gravel bike with drop bars. Just tweaks that geometry, raises that bottom bracket, and feels very, very natural to ride. And as if you've seen the video for the upcoming year, this isn't the last you've seen of this bike. It's coming back with some knobblier tyres on it for some winter training. Who'd have thought that I'd hang up my carbon bike for winter to make way for this 20 quid steel thrasher? And what you don't see me do on any of these videos is, because it only cost me a small amount of money, can drop it on the floor like a kid when you get to go chuck it over a gate or something. The build bug continued in June with the DeRosa Planet. Now this one didn't go the way I planned it. When I went to get this out of storage, I was just going to clean it up and build it because, well, it's a DeRosa. But for some reason the paint had reacted so badly, I had no choice but to strip it all off. And that was when I had a little moment, little light bulber. It's beautiful aluminium, it's beautifully welded, it's got lovely little dropouts and details. Let's polish it up and add some matte black forks and turn this into a do-it-all kind of bike. So I did, and I controversially added some V-brake pads to the Campagnolo brake calipers. After a little break through the rest of the summer, I was back on the building train with this Kona single-speed paddy wagon. Steel frame, Miche wheels, 70 quid, absolute bargain. Just needed a good old once-over, clean, rebuild, re-greased new chain. What a bike this turned out to be. Steel, comfortable. I could not wait to get out and ride this, so I did in the last of the warm September weather. And yeah, I mean, it stayed dry for the most part. I did get a soaking, but it's got mud guards on, so it doesn't matter. This bike racked up 45 miles with ease. It munched up the miles, it was comfortable and a great place to be. In fact, I find myself thinking now I can't wait to get out on that bike again. October's build took me in a totally different direction with this early 1994 Cannondale Super V1000, which I decided to do a resto mod build. So modern forks, disc brake up front, V-brakes at the back, flat bars. Oh, just the coolest thing. Well, I thought it would be anyway. I took this battered Cannondale and made it into something that I would want to ride. And I think it turned out great. I couldn't wait to test ride it. We even built the wheels specifically for this. However, I chose, for some unknown reason, not to do a shakedown ride, but to take it straight up to Yulgreave, where our very own Simon, top dogger, lives, and take it on a ride in the Peak District. And I made a few mistakes. For a start, no sooner had we got out on the test ride, but the seat kept dropping. Equally, the rear brake was honking like crazy, which meant I had to cut a lot of the audio on the video. However, I found the bike suspiciously slow to climb. Turns out, in my wisdom, I'd fitted 165mm cranks to this in my rush to finish it, and normally ride 175, being 6'4". So it's got a reprieve. I'm fitting new cranks now. There will be another ride video talking about this in the coming months because I want to love this bike. It's so cool. October's other video was back to the single speed, and this time the charge plug. But it wasn't a review of the bike, but the wheels. For the first time ever, I made my own wheels. I was so pleased with how these wheels turned out, and they held up, and I hammered them, and yeah, that was a great little video for a bike that I've totally fallen in love with. This is another one of my winter contenders now, and this bike isn't going anywhere. It was a 250 quid bargain, and I absolutely love it. And onto my new geared gravel budget favourite, the GT gravel bike. You guys love this bike as much as I do. I went for a mixture of XT, including V-brakes with travel adapters. Brilliant bike, cannot get enough of this. It's even got rack mounts on the front now for a pizza rack. Oh, and there's the Cannondale, the R600 Cannondale. This one has yet to be ridden, it's still hung up in the workshop. What a bike. Early Cannondale aluminium cantilevered stays, custom built wheels with those bronze rims again. This thing, oh, I cannot wait to ride this. I absolutely loved building it. It was an absolute dream. And it would be remiss of me not to mention the lack of some test ride videos for some of the builds. I have been really behind on that this year. I think we might make that a 2024 resolution, get you guys some more test ride videos in the bag. Speaking of those custom bronze wheels, we spent a bit of time in the shop with Dave doing some wheel building. We talked about radial lacing and the legendary crow's foot that Dave had a go at just for the video. And those wheels with those Jean Robert gold hubs featured on one of the next builds, and it was a really special bike. And it was this, the Peugeot Ultima 653, made from that legendary Reynolds 653 combination tubing. We decided to build this up with those custom Jean Robert wheels, and this was one heck of a bike. This took a lot of work to clean up, but my gosh, was it worth the effort. I added some sneaky wide range gears on the back, Shimano 600 Ultegra Tricolor, all original with those wheels, original tyres. Just a great bike that I could not wait to get out and ride. And I did, but not before I went running. Yeah, there was the curveball towards the end of the year in November. I decided I was going to add some running vlogs in an effort to keep losing weight and get fitter on the bike. Cross training into my running. Also Chops is running as well, so she's dragging me in. Not that many of you have watched this yet. I really hope that you will, and I hope that you will join me in my fitness journey. But back to that Ultima 653, here it is, freezing cold club ride. What a bike. I forgot, apart from the down tube shifters, that I was riding a retro 90s bike, to be honest. It was comfortable, compliant, fast, it climbed well. I had a great time. I had every intention of selling this bike on. As it stands, it's not going anywhere because I am in love with it. And for one of the last videos of the year, it was back to that GT gravel bike again to talk about these bargain bouldering cycles, Billy Bonkers, Baldies, whatever they are, tyres. Absolutely brilliant tyres and amazing price. Yeah, and then we're looking ahead. Cannot wait for what 2024 is going to bring. I've got all sorts for you. The gravel bike's back, the thing, the charge, it's so exciting. More single speed, there's loads. But you have to wait and see. It's all coming. And thanks for watching. Happy New Year from Downhill Smooth Tarmac. Like and subscribe. Do it now.